And you want to look at the camera a bit, a little bit?
I start the camera. So Simon, wonderful to have you join us. So in terms of driving climate action work at Inca Group, what does that entail? What does it mean for IKEA?
So maybe if we start with the vision. So IKEA is about democratizing home furnishing. So it's a beautiful vision that everyone can afford a nice home. We call it being for the many people, but you can only really do that if you're sustainable as well and if you run your business in a sustainable way. So it's rooted in the vision that we want to offer affordable furniture, nice furniture, quality, durable products, but that are also sustainable. So it's rooted in the vision. We've also then got a strategy, People and Planet Positive, where we lay out our objectives across three main areas. One is climate change. One is climate change and circularity. One is around helping customers to live a more sustainable life at home. And the other is what we call fair and equal, which is more the social dimension of sustainability. So a balanced strategy across those three areas with high ambitions. And maybe if you focus on climate, because we're at COP, we recently got our science-based targets approved, which is a higher ambition for us. So we've said that we'll reduce CO2 footprint by 50% by 2030 and be net zero by 2050, which we know the science is telling us we have to do if you want to stay within 1.5. So that's a new ambition, and we'll release a transition plan in February where we'll really outline exactly how we're going to meet those goals, because the devil's in the detail, and targets are great, but we actually need action now, not just plans.
We do indeed. So in terms of you being a retailer on a global scale, there's lots of materials involved. So how do you make this transition in terms of reducing the global impact of your material production?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So if you look at the IKEA footprint, 50% of the footprint actually comes from our material use. So the biggest impact we can actually do is to work on that material footprint. One of the ways is through circularity. I mentioned it before. A big ambition for IKEA is to be circular by 2030. So this means lots of things. It starts with the design phase where we've introduced circularity principles so that we design circularity in from the beginning. We also have started working much more at the consumer end. So if you go into IKEA now, you probably notice you can actually bring back some products, you can refurbish them, you can resell them back to IKEA, and we're really trying to stimulate that circular economy. We've also just launched a super exciting platform. It's a pilot in Spain, and I think it was Norway as well, called Pre-Loved, where we're actually trialing an online platform where consumers can resell products back into an online platform. So we're trialing that, and we're going to really monitor that closely because we think consumers want to take part in the second-hand economy in a structured way with a brand that they trust.
This is really cool. So in terms of supply chain, how do you motivate your suppliers? Is it collaboration, push and pull? How do you work with this?
Yeah, I mean, we like to partner with our suppliers. So Into IKEA runs the supply chain. And if I give you one example, the climate goals I mentioned are across scope 1, 2 and 3. So to reduce our scope 3 emissions, we also need suppliers to reduce their carbon footprint. One of the ways we do that is by helping them with renewable electricity. So we're now at around 37% renewable electricity share in our supply base. And we've done that by really supporting them, sometimes going into agreements with them and really stimulating their use of renewable electricity. So to answer your question, it's a partnership approach because also, our scope 3 is also their scope 1 and 2, and we want to work with suppliers who are also committed to climate.
What is your take on emissions data collection?
I mean, we can't reduce without having the right data, right? So we've been working on that for a long time. I would say that data doesn't need to be perfect to act. We know the biggest impacts that we have. We know where we need to reduce, and we kind of know the levers that we need to pull. So circularity, increasing renewable electricity share, renewable heating and cooling in stores, working on materials like wood, like steel, like concrete. These are the big emitting high carbon sectors. So we know those levers. But of course, the data enables us to take the right action. So I would say data is important, but let's not rely on that before we act. Let's act even when the data is not perfect.
What can you tell us about where you will be in 5 years?
So 5 years, we'll be beyond 2030. So we will have reduced our footprint by 50% from 2016, which will be an amazing achievement. I'm sure we'll do it. I'm humble that it's not easy, but we really have to believe that we can do it. I think we will have more renewable materials in our supply chain. We will have reduced footprint from our own operations. We made an announcement yesterday, which is we're investing 1.5 billion in renewable heating and cooling in our stores. So big footprint there around heating and cooling. We will have rolled that out by 2030, maybe a little bit beyond. We will have 100% zero emission delivery, hopefully by then. So when you receive a product delivered to your door from IKEA, it will be delivered in a zero emission vehicle. We're at around 40% share now, and then we've got a bit of a way to get to that 100% or close to that 100 by 2030. So I think IKEA will look the same in many ways. The products that you love, the value chain that we have now, but I think you'll see a bit of a different IKEA in terms of our carbon and our climate performance by then. We will have made good progress.
So, last question is about your hopes for this COP from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, this is my fourth COP. I think I hope we make some really good progress around NDCs. I see a very good NDC from the UK, which makes me proud because I'm originally British. I think we're seeing some good NDCs coming through, but we need many, many more. So I think good progress on NDCs. The financing question keeps coming back, and we don't seem to solve that one. So I think we need some big commitments around financing. Everyone said this would be a quieter COP, but I don't know if you can tell, it's not quiet at all. Everyone's here. There's a lot of business, progressive business voice, a lot of NGOs. We see a lot of protests in the hallway from different communities. So it's been a really inclusive COP, I think, and I hope it translates into good negotiation outcome.
Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Thank you.